of the Bible. And just in case you're wondering, I did a thorough search on Google, and badass is perfectly acceptable in polite society today. It is a compliment. Now, I want to go over what is a badass and begin our series with the first badass woman of the Bible. But first, what isn't a badass? Let me rephrase that. What we may think of is somebody who's tough and confrontational as a badass. But that is not what we're talking about here, my friends. We are talking about having the freedom to be our authentic self, to live fully and comfortably as we are. Learning how to be a badass helps you become who you are meant to be. Putting your unique strengths and talents and vision to work in the world to make it a better place. It means being your authentic self. You see obstacles as opportunities to learn and grow. You don't waste time on complaints or judgments, whether they're coming from the inside or the outside. You don't compare yourself to others favorably or unfavorably. You create your own unique style. You're just being you. So you're not following anybody else's style. You're being you, free to be who you are. And of course, you give others that same respect, treating them as really a very beloved part of your life. So being a badass isn't about riding a motorcycle or having a leather jacket, whether that's vegan or not, but it is a way of life. It's understanding who we are and how we respond to the challenges that come across in our lives. It means not shying away from the tough questions or the difficult conversations, but doing so with being a compassionate heart for yourself and for others as well. So, we're going to turn to the first badass woman of the Bible. Can you guess? There's a little hint for you. Yes, Eve. Now, often Eve gets a bad rap. She gets blamed for choosing the fruit in the Garden of Eden that got her and Adam kicked out. But I want you to remember, this is an allegory, my friends. This is not a literal story. Eve is presented in Genesis as the first female character. It's not saying she's the first woman ever to have walked the earth, but she's representing that feminine quality within each of us. Because, in later chapters, this always used to puzzle me when I was growing up. It would say, Eve's sons went out to find a wife. I'm like, well, if she's the first woman, how does that work? So the writer just simply means that Adam and Eve are the first two that we are looking about, reading about, and they are standing in as I said, as an allegory really for the human family. So Eve is created as a helper for Adam, a helpmate. Now, we're not talking about someone to do the laundry, okay, or the dishes, or even the cooking, but something much more, something deep within Eve's design. There's a meaningful truth. In Genesis, the 2nd chapter, God recognized that Adam isn't faring very well alone, so he moves to make a helper for him. The original Hebrew word is ezer, and that's what we translate as helper. However, it's used 21 times in the Hebrew scriptures. Twice it's used to describe women, 3 times to describe help in battle, and the other 16 times to describe God's help to humanity. This is that feminine quality within us, my friends. Far from demeaning as a helper, ezer is an empowering and powerful description of how our feminine side reflects the very nature of God. And here's another thought. When we look at this metaphysically, which we like to do here in Unity, right? We like to look at the meaning behind the meaning, the symbolism of it, seeing that each character is representing a state of consciousness within us. If we look at Eve metaphysically, and it is, wait a second, it's the feeling nature within each of us. And that is what reflects that nature of God, our true nature. We experience the sacred and spirit within, and that is powered by our feelings. When we look up Eve in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and yes, there is such a thing, it is a unity reference book, we find that one of its meanings is also elementary life. Eve represents elementary feminine qualities of life in each individual. So get away from thinking of her as a woman. Think of this as rather a state of consciousness within each of us. She is all of the female components of our life, if you will, no matter what our gender. And that can be summed up really as the ability to feel, but it's not only that. But I was very interested in the word elementary, the steps we need to learn first, how to deal with our feelings, how to process our feelings, how to feel our feelings, how to name our feelings. While in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve both represent the ability to think for Adam and the ability to feel for Eve, but it's all in potential when they're in the garden, because they're still in the garden, which I liken to being in like a trance state. It's pure potential, but it's pure ignorance, and we say ignorance is bliss, but they haven't yet eaten any of that knowledge. So they're both kind of lacking in the knowledge of good and evil, which is another thing, just getting sidetracked here. But if they, it's like, go ahead and get sidetracked. I'm on my soapbox, I'm gonna. But if they had no knowledge of good and evil, then how could they have known that to disobey God was not a good thing? So Eve has gotten a bad rap for centuries, right? Okay, no more of that, because it's all an allegory. Okay, so what I like to think is that Eve was actually following the invitation of Spirit that invites us to expand our consciousness, to grow into our potential, to take those first few elementary steps into being our authentic self, into expressing our light. And for this reason, for me, Eve represents freedom. Freedom from the past life of unawareness, the life in which we are in a trance of habit or repetition or circular thought or limiting beliefs. So the question really is, how do we gain this freedom? Carl Jung tells us real liberation comes not from glossing over or repressing painful states of feeling, but only from experiencing them to the full. So we all know that, but there may still be times in which we shy away from going into those deep, dark places within, right? But at some point, we get that aha moment, that insight, the knowledge, if you will, that we don't have to keep repeating the same behaviors, the same thoughts. We know that if we keep doing the same thing, we keep getting the same results. Perhaps we read a book that sheds light on it and gives us a different perspective. Perhaps we hear a song. Perhaps it's something that someone tells us. But we get that moment and find, as Campbell tells us, nirvana is right here in the midst of the turmoil of life. It is the state you find when you are no longer driven to live by compelling desires, fears, and social commitments. When you have found your center of freedom and can act by choice out of that. So we have seen the truth, and the truth has set us free. We come to understand that God is a real and present power in our lives in helping us to make different choices. I'm not talking about a puppet master God. I'm talking about the spirit and power that is flowing through us as us. Emily Cady tells us, do not be under bondage to false beliefs about your circumstances or environment. God is in everything that happens to you. Whew. So, the verb H-O-H, ho, I think, I don't actually know, I may not be pronouncing it, I don't speak this, but in the Hebrew, it forms the basis of the name Jehovah. And it means being luminous, absolute life. Isn't that beautiful? Absolute luminous life. Well, it's also the basis for the name Eve, although there is a slight change to the characters, a little bit of hardening of the vowels. So it no longer represents absolute life, but the struggle of, here we go again, elementary existence. This is the struggle of the soul to regain its nirvana, its understanding of who we are as that expression of the divine. Just as Adam and Eve, when in the story they were kicked out of the garden and they had some struggles, we too, once we start becoming more aware, doesn't mean that we won't have obstacles in our path. It just means that we are better equipped to deal with them. The luminous, absolute spirit of life runs through you and is your basis. This is our foundation, my friends. We are luminous, absolute life. So when we harden our hearts and no longer feel those feelings that we're feeling, then our struggles really intensify, don't they? But if we pay attention to our Eve within, listening to our feelings, naming them, identifying where we feel them, letting them process so that they can move out of our consciousness, we can set them to rest, we begin to move out of that trance world of habit and gain the freedom to choose again. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, tells us, we know that God is the great unlimited, and we, the image and likeness, must be of the same character. Consequently, we have the same freedom that God has excuse me, to act in the fulfillment of desire. God does not dictate our acts, although God may instruct and draw us through love away from error. Now, I understand that Charles Fillmore, he was writing in the 1800s, and sometimes we need to kind of reword this a little bit. For me, this is how I interpret this. We are made in the image and likeness of God, and therefore we have the same freedom to choose. We have that executive power of will to choose our life's experiences, how we respond to life. There is no puppet master God, no sky God telling us what to do, pulling strings, but rather there is the invitation of spirit within leading us on. Our daily word today, that inner guidance is like, I don't remember it verbatim, but like we're being a flower in the field, and with the sun being our guidance, we turn towards the sun. I recently read a story of someone who did this in an amazing way. This was over 100 years ago. Florence Bailey became an ornithologist. And this was at a time when all the contemporary ornithologists were studying dead birds. That is the way that they studied birds. This was also a time in which the fashion was to place a dead bird on your hat for some reason. I have no idea why. But this resulted in over 5 million birds being killed every year. Well, Bailey saw this and said, no, this is not right. So she had a different idea. Let's study birds as they're living in their natural habitat. Sounds pretty obvious to us now, but at the time, I'm pretty sure she got kickback. In 1889, at age 26, she wrote her first book, Birds Through an Opera Glass. I can just picture her, right? And in it she writes, the student who goes afield armed with opera glass and camera will not only add more to our knowledge than one who goes armed with a gun, but will gain for themselves a fund of enthusiasm and a lasting store of pleasant memories. So she would take, yeah, that's wonderful. So she would take women on bird watching expeditions to help educate them, discouraging them from wearing dead birds. I mean, really, But this, her actions and her book and everything that she did resulted in Congress passing legislation to protect birds. She refused to accept the way it's always been. She followed that light within in doing things her way. Another badass woman for us. So the question is, what widely held limiting beliefs might we be holding that is keeping us from expressing who we truly are? So I'd like to challenge any long-standing beliefs that you have that say that you're not good enough, you don't deserve this, or whatever it is, or they did something to me that I don't like. That may be a fact, but it's not the truth, the spiritual truth of a situation. We know the truth transcends that, right? Challenge that and see if you can't get a new thought. Honor that spirit of life within. And as Bailey did, follow those feelings to change the world with a new belief. I invite you to join me in our affirmation together. Today, I choose freedom. So we're going to move into a time of meditation. This will be a guided meditation followed by a period of silence. And at the conclusion of it, Brett and Patty will share a song that you can either sing along or you can just simply relax. That was like rest and relax. Rest and relax in. So let's go ahead and adjust our positions as necessary. Getting very comfortable. Closing your eyes if you like, or gazing softly onto the ground. And we do this so we don't get distracted. Oh my goodness gracious. That was not good. Okay. We'll do it again. Don't let that distract you. Begin paying attention to your breath, slowing it down. And as we slow our breath down, our thoughts naturally slow down. And I invite you to do a body scan and just see if there are any areas that are feeling tense, and just direct your breath towards that area, allowing the muscles to soften. And maybe behind the neck, maybe the jawline or the brow, the back. We take our time in preparing for meditation. We set ourselves up for success in doing so. And then I invite you to think about freedom. Freedom as an idea whose time has come in your life. Silently repeat to yourself, I embrace freedom, and freedom embraces me. Today I choose freedom. We are free to express trust and confidence in spirit within that invites us to grow, to learn. We are free to let go of any judgment of lack of growth and just be here, willing to move forward. We are free to let go of any feelings of bondage to conditions, to resentments, or limiting beliefs of any kind. Today, I choose freedom. Today, I express freedom and the luminous spirit of life that I am. In the silence, we sit. And if you find your thoughts being distracted, and gently steer them back to that affirmation that we just shared. Today, I choose freedom. Today, I express freedom and the luminous spirit of life that I am. And as we continue to sit restfully, let us give thanks for this time of communion, this time of peace, this time of greater awareness.
God of goodness, God of grace, God of wisdom, God of love, God of life transcending time and space, God in me, God in God of grace.
God of wisdom, God of love, God of life transcending time and space. God in me, God in me. God of glory, God of power, God of goodness, God of grace, God of wisdom, God of love, God of life transcending time and space. God in me, God in Thank you, Brent and Patty. That was beautiful. I'm going to invite you to join me in our offertory prayer. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the abundance in my life.
Now you might want to stand also. That's entirely up to you. I think you might.
I am grateful. Yes, thank you. Please be seated. Yeah, we have a few announcements today. Our monthly sound bath is happening Wednesday. So if you get all revved up over July 4th, come on the next day and just relax with the sound bath. 7 p.m. right here in this sanctuary. There is a $20 admission charge. And then we are setting up for Hagerstown Pride on this coming Saturday. And if you are interested in helping man the booth or woman the booth or they the booth, Go ahead and sign up. I think there's 2-hour shifts there. So, and then our Adopt a Highway commitment is going to be fulfilled in parts on the 15th of July. We're meeting at 8:30 here at the church. It takes maybe an hour and a half to do it with enough people, so it's not a huge commitment, but it makes a difference, my friends. We get a lot of trash. We go from AC&T up to Leslie Drive, I believe it is. It's a little over a mile, and you would not believe how much trash we pick up, but you feel so good doing it because you can have immediate results. Also, there are plenty of volunteer opportunities for anyone who's looking to give back to this community in different ways. Of course, we appreciate all financial support, but if you'd like to serve as well, please see me. We need greeters, daily word readers. We need hospitality. We need good news. Yes, we need good news if you want to do that upon occasion. That would be great. So people to help clean up the sanctuary. You may notice that there's a little bit of dust everywhere. That's because I haven't dusted it yet, but I don't think that's really in my job description, okay? So we're looking for someone to just help tidy things up. So there's an assortment of things that you can do to give back to this community. Saturdays, our walk and talks continue. We meet down at Cushwell Basin. We have delightful conversations that inevitably move back to the spiritual. So if you're interested in having a walk and a talk, come join us. We meet at 9 a.m. And then Zion Soup Kitchen is happening Tuesday. If you signed up to bring food and did not bring it today, please drop it off at my house tomorrow, which most of you know where I live. If you don't, just let me know. Or at Zion on 201 North Potomac Street in the back entrance on Tuesday. Because I have been finding that people sign up and we don't get the food. So let's not let that happen. Let's feed these people, okay? Okay, so at this time, we're going to say goodbye to our beloved Facebook friends. Thank you, Paula. And wish you a happy 4th of July, and go out and be your luminous self. I'm just